Hi there, Alberto Savoia here with another video in which I answer one of the top most often asked questions by my Apex Innovation clients and students. So remember, if you're one of my Apex Innovation clients and if you have questions, send them to asavoia@gmail.com and I will answer them in this special private invitation only video. So one of the most common questions I get from a lot of you, I would say 80% of you, is the following. Alberto, we want to be Apex Innovators, but we work in an industry or in a market or in a business that is very, very tightly regulated, like the medical industry, like the insurance industry, or there are laws that strictly limit our ability to innovate. And for that reason, we cannot be as innovative as we'd like. Well, that has to be about one of the worst possible excuses for not innovating. And I will explain in this short video why that is the case. First of all, remember from previous video, there are Apex Innovators and Beta Innovators. Apex Innovators are the top 1 or 2%, and Beta Innovators are all the followers. Apex Innovators must ignore the law. What? Are you crazy, Alberto? We're all gonna go to jail. Look, ignoring the law doesn't mean that you do not obey the law. Ignoring the law means that you ignore the way that the laws and the regulations are currently written and the state in which they currently are. So ignorance of the law is no excuse for committing a crime, and I'm fully on board with that. But you must ignore the law if you want to be an Apex Innovator. Otherwise, just stick here in the Beta Innovators and just kind of follow up until you get swallowed up by one of the Apex Innovators. So let me dig in a little deeper here. Here's how Beta Innovators think about laws and regulation. They think that laws and regulation exist to be followed and must be followed. What do Apex Innovators think? Laws and regulations must be challenged. So you still follow them while they're in practice, but you must challenge them. Beta Innovators think legislation limits innovation. I mean, I see this a lot. We would love to do this. They come up with the great ideas and then they come up and say, well, actually there's a law against that, or there is a regulation against that. Apex Innovator flip that completely around 180 degrees. As you know, Apex Innovators really like to do that, flip things around by 180 degrees. They believe and they act according to the following. Innovation drives legislation. And you know what? This is so much more true than this, right? Every time we have an innovation, do you think that there were laws regarding speed limits and what you can do in a car before there were cars? You think that there were laws to regulate what we could do with computers and the internet before there were computers and the internet? No. Innovation drives legislation. And if an innovation is something that the market wants, then there will be a way for the regulations to be rewritten, for the laws to be rewritten. Remember, another big expression from a previous video, if there's a market, there is a way. Right? If there's a market, there's a way that you can probably implement what you want to implement. There is probably a way that you could build what you want to build. And there is probably a way that you can change the law to make your innovation, your new product and service legal. Now, I like to talk about concrete things. So let me give you very, very concrete examples of Apex Innovators in action demonstrating this way of thinking. So I'm going to pick just one industry. I want these videos to be short. The auto industry. And I'm going to pick 3 innovators in that auto industry: Uber, Tesla, and Google. First of all, Uber. When Uber started, they started to test their service in New York City, from what I understand, using 3 cars. They were running, in essence, an illegal and unauthorized limo or taxi service. Okay? And in fact, if you recall, even in the early days, even after Uber became more legitimate and a proper business, not every place allowed Uber, right? There were laws against using Uber cars in airport. Now you can use Uber in airport. There were countries that did not allow Uber. They changed the laws because the market wanted Uber and of course Lyft. What about Tesla, right? There were regulations in the car industry that, there must be dealerships. New cars must be sold through dealerships. Tesla, among many, many other things, challenged that. And in addition to that, they also challenge, the kind of pushing the law when it comes to self-driving cars, which brings me to the Google example. When I was at Google, I think it was around 2010 that Google started working on self-driving cars. Do you think that the law at the time allowed for self-driving cars to drive around? Well, no. And in fact, in my city, in Mountain View, where Google is, you could see self-driving cars, but they had to add, a driver's there at the ready. Do you have any doubts that the law will be changed to allow, sooner or later self-driving cars? Well, they are already being changed. So remember, if you want to be an Apex innovator, think about this. Ignore the law, which doesn't mean break the law, but think that innovation drives legislation and laws and regulation must be challenged. Never let laws or regulation, the current one, challenge what you can do in terms of innovation. Otherwise, you'll be relegated to being a beta innovator for the rest of your life. Now, please, if you have questions, remember, if you have an Apex Innovation client of mine, you have direct access to me, asavoya@gmail.com. Ask me the question. As you can see, I love answering them. And in the meantime, remember, innovation drives legislation. So go out and innovate. Thanks a lot. I'll see you next time.